Do you ever wonder if your senior dog remembers his puppy days? This is a question that many dog owners ponder as they watch their furry friends transition from playful pups to mature canines. It's an intriguing thought, isn't it? Imagining that your dog might have some recollection of their youthful frolics and first experiences. The world of canine cognition is a fascinating one, filled with complexities and nuances that are still being explored and understood. Just like us humans, dogs have memories, but their memory works in a different way, and that's what makes this topic so intriguing. Human memory is largely episodic. We remember events, people, places, and experiences based on a timeline. We can recall past events and anticipate future ones. But when it comes to our canine companions, their memory is thought to be more associative. Dogs are believed to form memories around associations. They remember that a leash means a walk, or that the sound of a can opener might signal dinner time. But does this associative memory extend to their puppyhood? Do they remember their first walk, their first chew toy, or their first encounter with a cat? This is where opinions start to diverge among experts. Some believe that dogs might have a form of episodic memory, enabling them to recall specific events from their past. Others suggest that while dogs may remember certain associations from their puppyhood, they likely don't remember it in the same way we remember our childhood. The truth is, the canine mind is an enigma. We're only just beginning to scratch the surface of understanding how dogs perceive the world and process their experiences. Each new study adds another piece to the puzzle, but it's a puzzle that's far from complete. So, do dogs remember their puppyhood? It's a question that continues to captivate dog owners and researchers alike. And while we may not have a definitive answer just yet, the exploration of this topic sheds light on the fascinating inner workings of our four-legged friends' minds. To understand more, we turn to the professionals in the field. Veterinarians have long studied the memory capabilities of our furry friends. They've delved into the depths of canine cognition, trying to understand how man's best friend perceives the world around them. And when it comes to the question of whether dogs remember their puppyhood, the opinions are as diverse as the breeds themselves. Some veterinarians believe that dogs do indeed have a form of long-term memory. They propose that dogs are capable of recalling past experiences, but perhaps not in the same way humans do. According to these professionals, a dog's memory might be less about specific events and more about associations and emotions. For instance, a dog might not remember the exact day it was adopted, but it could remember the feeling of happiness and safety associated with its new home. Then, there are those who believe dogs live more in the moment, not dwelling on the past like humans tend to do. These veterinarians suggest that dogs have what's called an associative memory. This means they remember things based on immediate consequences and rewards, rather than on specific past events. So, while a dog might not recall its first walk in the park, it will remember that going to the park leads to fun and games. It's important to remember that dogs aren't small humans. They experience the world differently, and their memory processes might be fundamentally different from ours. Even within the veterinary community, there's no consensus as to exactly how a dog's memory works. These fascinating insights into the canine mind show just how complex and diverse their thought processes might be. It's clear that more research is needed to fully understand the intricacies of canine memory. But one thing is for sure, whether dogs remember their puppyhood or not, they certainly live their lives with a joy and love that's unforgettable. So, there are diverse opinions among veterinarians, but what do animal behaviorists have to say? Animal behaviorists offer a different perspective on canine memory. When it comes to dogs, these experts often argue that our four-legged friends remember far more than just commands and tricks. They believe that dogs have the capacity to recall events and experiences, creating associations with certain places or objects based on their past encounters. Take, for instance, the dog park. A pooch that's had countless hours of fun chasing balls and socializing with other dogs at this location can potentially associate it with joy and excitement. So the next time you're on the way to the park, your furry friend's tail might start wagging wildly, not because they understand the concept of the park, but because they recall the positive experiences associated with it. Similarly, if a dog has had a negative experience with a particular object, say a vacuum cleaner, they might associate that object with fear or discomfort. This is why some dogs might retreat or show signs of distress at the mere sight or sound of the vacuum. However, it's important to note that the memories dogs form might not be as detailed or as long-lasting as ours. While we humans have the ability to recall specific details and sequence of events, dogs are thought to remember more in terms of feelings and associations. This is not to say that dogs have a poor memory. Quite the contrary, their memory is just different. It's adapted to their needs and survival as a species. They remember what they need to remember, things that make them happy, things that scare them, things that are important for their survival. But just like with human memory, canine memory is a complex and largely unexplored territory. There are many factors at play: breed, age, individual temperament, and more. And while the field of animal behaviorism has made significant strides in understanding canine cognition, there's still much more to learn. The debate continues, but one thing is sure: our dogs remember more than we might think. Despite the ongoing debate, we see examples of canine memory in action every day. Let's delve into some anecdotes that might have you nodding in agreement, or perhaps even scratching your head in wonder. Consider this. A family moves across the country, leaving behind their dog's favorite park. Years later, they return to their old neighborhood, and the dog unerringly leads them back to the park. It's as if the pup had just visited yesterday, even though it's been years. Then there's the story of a man who had to give up his dog due to unforeseen circumstances. Fast forward 5 years, and they cross paths again. The dog's eyes light up, his tail wags furiously, and he bounds over to his long-lost owner, showering him with affection. It's an emotional reunion that could only be possible if the dog remembered him. But it's not just about remembering places or people. Dogs also remember specific events. There's the tale of a dog who, every year on the anniversary of his adoption, would go sit by the front door with his favorite toy, as if expecting his adoptive family to walk through the door all over again. And then there's the case of the dog who, having once been stung by a bee, would thereafter give a wide berth to any buzzing insects. It seems that the painful memory had left an indelible mark on his mind. These stories, and countless others like them, demonstrate that dogs have a way of remembering that, while different from our own, is no less remarkable. They may not recall their puppyhood or the exact details of their past, but they do remember places, people, and experiences that have left a significant impact on their lives. So, whether it's the way to a beloved park, the face of a former owner, or the sting of a bee, dogs remember. And these memories, in their own unique way, shape who they are and how they interact with the world around them. These examples show that while their memory might not work like ours, dogs do remember. So, does your senior dog remember his puppy days? That's the question we've been exploring throughout this video. Let's take a moment to summarize what we've learned. Firstly, it's important to remember that dogs do have a form of memory, but it's not like ours. They don't have the ability to recall specific events from their past in the same way we do. They don't sit and reminisce about that fantastic walk in the park 6 months ago, or that delicious steak they snaffled from the dinner table last year. However, that doesn't mean our four-legged friends don't remember anything. Quite the contrary. Dogs remember experiences, places, and people. If you've ever moved house, you'll have noticed your dog exploring the new environment, sniffing out every nook and cranny. That's because they have a keen sense of spatial memory. They remember where they've been and how to get there. When it comes to people, dogs remember those who have shown them kindness, love, and care. They remember the sound of your voice, your scent, and the way you pet them. This is associative memory in action, where dogs link specific actions or experiences with certain outcomes. For instance, they learn that when you pick up a leash, it's time for a walk. But what about their puppyhood? Do they remember being a tiny pup, exploring the world for the first time? Well, the truth is, we just don't know. Memory in dogs is a complex and fascinating field, and there's still so much we're learning. Although we may not be able to say for certain if dogs remember their puppy days, one thing we can be sure of is the impact we have on their lives. The love, care, and kindness we show our pets leave a lasting impression. So while we can't be sure if your dog remembers being a puppy, we can be sure that he remembers the love and care you've given him throughout his life.